Hey 8th graders, today you're going to be combining two Amplify lessons 2.1 and 2.2 for our magnetism unit. As the last couple have been, this is only going to be completed in this PowerPoint and not in Amplify. And obviously as you guys are watching this video, you found the link right up here on the first slide. Okay, your learning targets for today. I can identify potential and kinetic energy in a system. And I can describe when or how potential energy converts to kinetic energy in a system. So these are two throwbacks from our first Amplify Harnessing Human Energy unit. So we're going to be doing a little bit of review on those. And then finally, we're going to be relating it to what we're learning about right now with magnetism, which leads us to our third learning target. I can describe how potential and kinetic energy relate to magnetism. Moving on to the first activity, you guys have a little bit to add to your OneNotes. So again, three throwback vocab words: energy, the ability to make things move or change; kinetic energy, the energy something has because it is moving; and potential energy, the energy that is stored in an object or system. You also have key concept number 4 right here. Remember that you guys can just right click those and copy and paste them directly into your OneNote. So you can see key concept number 4 right there. A magnetic force can convert potential energy stored in a magnetic field to kinetic energy. And then you guys can see the 3 vocab words listed right here. Okay. Moving back into today's lesson, your warm-up. So you have this diagram. Again, this should look fairly familiar to you guys from the simulation that we did back in the Harnessing Human Energy unit. So this flywheel and ball launcher is one possible system that could be built to show the conversion of energy. So we have a lot of conversions here between potential and kinetic energy. So what part or parts of the system store potential energy? So there's several parts where you guys will see potential energy throughout this system. It could even be part of the person cranking the energy. They have to eat their food, which has a lot of potential energy in order for us to even be able to move our arms on that hand crank. Okay, what parts of the system have kinetic energy? And then finally, if an object has kinetic energy, what must it be doing? Again, think back to what the definition of kinetic energy is to begin with. Okay, moving on to the activity 3 simulation. Your link for the simulation is right over here. So again, you should be able to right click it and open link. It may have you log in through Clever. That's okay, that's normal. But if you've logged into Clever recently, it might just take you directly into Amplify. So your goal for this is to set up a system and observe how the energy changes in that system. So with this, you guys are going to be looking at 2 repelling magnets. So you guys will drag 2 magnets close to each other. Again, you guys can kind of decide how close they go. That's up to you. You'll hit run, see what happens, and then click analyze. On your guys' analyze screen is where you have this graph of kinetic versus potential energy. And down here you have the blue replay bar. You guys can click that and drag it back to where your magnets were touching and observe what happens to your potential energy. Here's your little key. You guys can see that when those 2 magnets are touching, they have a potential energy of 14,339 joules. So that's quite high. And then you guys can see what happens once those magnets have fully moved apart. So notice how there's still some type of potential energy left in the system. So even though those 2 magnets are really far apart from each other because of their magnetic fields, they still have some potential energy left. Even if there's nothing near them, they still have that magnetic field. Okay? All right, moving back. So answer this question right here. When the magnet started moving, the amount of, and then you have 3 options: kinetic, potential, or thermal energy. You're going to choose one and circle it. So use the draw tool. Choose your pen and circle either kinetic, potential, or thermal energy. So when the magnet started moving, the amount of kinetic, potential, or thermal energy went down, and then the amount of what type of energy went up. So again, circle either kinetic, potential, or thermal energy. As always with your draw tool, don't forget to click back on the cursor up here before you move on. Okay? Activity 4, energy investigation. So A cohort, I believe you guys are doing this in class, so you guys will actually have these materials in front of you to manipulate and build your systems. Whereas DLI and B cohorts, you guys will just be doing this in theory. So you guys will be using these setups to think about, or these materials to think about how you might use them to set up to show the goals right here. So use the materials on your tray to build 3 systems, each composed of 2 parts. That can, and the purpose of that system is to give an object kinetic energy or to make an object move. So for the first system, use any materials, and then for the last 2 systems, you're only going to use magnets. So use the system to gather evidence about the investigative question, how can magnets cause objects to have kinetic energy? You guys will be answering that question later. So keep in mind different things that you observe or would observe in this experiment if you were doing it in class, and use that as evidence for answering that question later. So define each of the parts of the system and answer the question. So moving on to our first system, system 1. Again, you guys are using any materials on there. So if you're doing this from home, you guys can just think of how you would use those materials and describe how you would set that up. So think of at least 2 parts to your system. Maybe it's a spring launching a pom-pom, okay? Or a magnet, a rubber band hitting a bouncy ball or something along that line. Okay, so tell me about your system. And then what do you think would happen, or if you guys are doing this in class, what actually did happen? When was there more potential energy in the system, and when was there more kinetic energy in the system? Once you guys have built that, you'll move on to your second and third systems, which you are only using magnets. And again, describe how you would set up your system, or if you're in class, how you did set up your system, and what do you think happened or what happened? And then when was there more potential and when was there more kinetic? Do that again for the third one. Set up your magnets differently this time. Okay, let's write about that now. So how can magnets cause objects to have kinetic energy? So I want you guys to not only answer the question, but I want you guys to use some evidence that you just had from either your simulation today or your experiments, depending on what you guys got to observe directly. And then make sure you use some words out of this word bank. So convert, kinetic energy, potential energy, force, and magnetic field. All of those should be words that you guys naturally include anyway. Okay, finally, you guys have your wrap up. Don't forget to do this. It takes about 20 seconds. So do you have any questions? Circle yes or no. If you have a question, type it right there. But obviously, if it's a question that's preventing you guys from doing this assignment, you guys want to let me know immediately so I can help you out. Make sure you guys, of course, are watching this video, though, before you ask for help. And then 4, 3, 2, 1, how do you think you did on this assignment? Once you guys are done with that in its entirety, go ahead and turn it in. And you guys may relax or do other work for the rest of the day. I hope you all are having a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.